Thought leadership is one of the most powerful strategies in B2B marketing today. It builds trust, it boosts visibility, and it gets your brand in front of decision makers before they're even looking. But here's the million-dollar question. How do you actually measure the ROI of thought leadership? It's a fair question because thought leadership isn't built for quick wins. You don't just launch a blog post and wake up to 100 leads waiting to buy from you. It's about long-term influence, positioning, and trust. But just because it's long-term doesn't mean you can measure it. When you know what to track, you can prove value and scale what works. At One IMAS, we use what we call our growth formula framework. It helps our customers to grow predictably. It's very simple. Acquisition plus retention equals growth. On the acquisition side, we have two primary levers that we pull. One is capture existing demand in the intent channels and create awareness in the awareness channels. So for creating awareness, we focus on three key areas. One is problem awareness, helping your audience name the pain; brand awareness, showing up as the expert they trust; and solution awareness, connecting your offer to their needs. So the beautiful thing about thought leadership, it covers all three of those things. And when you measure ROI, you really are measuring how well you're moving people through that customer journey. We all know customer journey is not a linear path. It's a very complicated and convoluted path to purchase. So in that journey, right, from problem aware to solution aware and ultimately brand aware to make that purchase, we want to guide them through that process. And that's where thought leadership really comes to play. So there are three core pillars of thought leadership measurement, right? Number one is visibility. Are people seeing your content, right? Could they find you, right? When they're looking for information and insight, are they finding you, right? That's the visibility. Second is engagement. Are they interacting with it, right? If they're seeing your content, is it compelling enough for them to take the action of commenting or engaging in that conversation? And then lastly, business impact. Is it influencing decisions or deals, right? Because if you're creating content, it doesn't do anything in terms of driving business outcome, then it's not necessarily producing the type of ROI your leadership is looking for. Everything we cover next connects back to these three core areas of what we want to measure, right? Now, here's the challenge. Most executives, when you talk to them, what they care most about is fast results. They want leads. They want to see their revenue hits every quarter, right? They have quotas, they have leadership targets that they want to hit. So that's what they're primarily focused on. But the thing about thought leadership, it's not like a lead magnet that you just launched and have some behind the form strategy to just get people to convert into an inquiry or a demo request overnight. It doesn't happen like that. It's not like a drip campaign that you might schedule for a long-term lead nurture. And then oftentimes people just go through that funnel and ultimately becomes a customer in the long run. When it comes to thought leadership, it's a long-term play to shape the industry conversations. It's a very involved process on how you build awareness and trust in the minds of people. So we live in a world of dashboards and budgets and constraints, right? So leaders want proof that your content is working. And with the right approach, you can give it to them, right? You can give the leadership what they're actually expecting from return on investment from a thought leadership. So what I want to share with you is 7 ways to maximize and measure the ROI of thought leadership. So in the next few minutes, I'll share what those things are, and hopefully you can implement some of these things in your business. So step one, the number one thing from a strategy standpoint you need to look at from a thought leadership maximization, right? How to leverage it is start with a clear purpose. So before you track anything, ask yourself, what is the goal? Right? Are you trying to break into a new market, right? Are we in an established market or are we trying to penetrate into a new market? And are we trying to support the sales team with this content strategy? Whatever the content that we're creating and distributing is the purpose to empower the salespeople. Or sometimes it's even actually in the form of attracting top talent, especially if you're a brand new business, trying to attract new and best team to join your team. You might be leveraging some of the thought leadership effort to actually attract talent. And you might know that sometimes when you have a leadership team creating a quality content that do attract prospective talent to come to your company. So your purpose defines the metrics, right? You want to know what you're aiming for, and then you can accordingly measure, right? Different goals mean different measures of success. Secondly, track what matters, not vanity metrics. We all know page views, likes, all of those are KPIs that oftentimes get reported in marketing dashboards, but that's not necessarily what drives ROI, right? Instead, focus on 3 categories. One, I would say visibility metrics. So I mentioned that earlier. So when we talk about the awareness, right, there's a visibility metric. So a couple of things in the visibility metrics that can be very important is organic traffic. So if you're creating thought leadership content, is it driving organic, meaning like without having to pay for traffic, is it driving visitors to your website or core sections of your site? The second thing is brand or search volume. I cannot emphasize this enough. When you help our customers grow their brand presence and brand recognition in the marketplace, what we've seen is the branded search volume tend to increase a lot. If you've done studies on brands like Salesforce versus HubSpot, you can see in the last 5-7 years, HubSpot's branded search volume has gone up drastically. I mean, we're talking exponential growth in the volume of people looking for just the brand name HubSpot. And you might say, hey, HubSpot is a $4 billion company that they just have that sort of brand recognition in the marketplace. But it's not true. Like if your addressable market is small, you can have a very sizable market share where they recognize your brand by just having quality content and thought leadership produced in your specific niche that you're in. The other metric that you can look at is media mentions. If you're creating content, especially thought-provoking and unique point of view about how to solve specific business challenges in your industry or for your specific customer base, people are going to take note of it and they're going to start recognizing you and giving you credits for the type of content you produce and maybe even reference it or quote it in their content pieces that they produce. A share of voice and overall in how you are being perceived and how you get the recognition in the marketplace in comparison to your competitors. So that's that share of voice in the marketplace. So that's the number one. Number two is engagement metrics. So these are actual metrics that you can actually see the numbers. So time on page. So if you're creating content and you're publishing those content, you will tend to see if the content is engaging and informative and educational and useful, people are going to spend the time consuming that content on your website. And you can increase the time on site if you're creating video first, and then you're transcribing that video into a blog format, and then you're taking that video that was already published on YouTube, embed that on that blog page or whatever that content page. You will increase the time on site very drastically because people are going to more likely to watch that video on that page more than they actually sit there and read that content. So engaging content types, and if you're putting interactive tools, whether that's like an ROI calculator or some other sort of resources embedded into the strategic content that you're producing, that increases the time on site. Repeat visits, you might see that especially if you have resources and tools that you make available where people actually keep coming back to your site to consume more information to help them do their job better. And that also means repeat visits. So that's another metric you can measure. Content shares. If you're putting out good content, it's very likely that people who are in the market looking for insights and ideas and tips, they tend to share your content. Even competitors are willing to share content if you're putting out good information. And you also see webinar or event signup. You're putting out a lot of content, you naturally build a strong affinity with your audience. And when you're putting out live event or virtual events, you tend to see a lot more sign up just organically happening just because people know that they're going to find a lot of value by attending a much more in-depth training of some sort. So business impact metrics, right? So in terms of other things to consider, inbound leads influenced is another metric you can measure from a business impact standpoint. If you start to actually have conversation with prospective customers that are coming in, you will see an influx in the lead flow as your thought leadership efforts are becoming more useful to them, right? When they're starting to consume your content, they're more likely to actually come to the website, convert into a lead. Sales cycle length. This is something we've seen drastically improve the sales cycle. When you actually have quality content and subject matter expertise demonstrated through your leadership sharing insights, you will tend to see that the sales conversations are much more very direct, and they're much more educated when they're coming to you inbound, and the sales cycle gets a lot shorter because you're not doing a lot to earn their trust, build credibility in their eyes, because they've already kind of have a much better view of you and your organization and your leadership and your product offering. So which tend to help the salespeople quickly win deals and shortening that entire sales cycle. And then you also see customer lifetime value increase drastically. When the customers trust you and rely on you for insights and industry knowledge, they tend to stick around with you a lot longer as a customer, which certainly increases the lifetime value of the customer. And then the deal velocity in terms of speed, right? In terms of how fast you're able to win deals, that also gets drastically changed. So you can use tools like Google Analytics or Ahrefs or anything like that to be able to track some of those key metrics. And then if you're using a CRM like HubSpot, you can measure kind of the lifetime value, the deal velocity, as well as the key metrics that actually shows how quickly are deals being closed in your funnel. The other thing is to look at to prove the ROI of your thought leadership effort is using smart attribution models. A lot of times when you're using more of like a last click attribution, it doesn't do justice to thought leadership because a lot of times it's not giving credit to some of the ways that people have been introduced to your brand. So if you're creating content and producing that and sharing those in so many different places to get as much distribution as possible, people are coming across that content, and oftentimes the first touch attributions are where you might see the value go into the blogs or anything like that. You notice, especially when you're creating content, right? You will see people are watching your videos. They might watch 3-4 of your videos on YouTube or read a couple of blogs, attended your webinar, and follow your founders on LinkedIn. And before they ever fill out a form, they're doing all of these things behind the scene, and sometimes it's referred to as dark social activities, right? And these things are what's happening behind the scene. And a lot of times attribution softwares are not going to do justice in reporting how those sort of touch points are impacting their decision making, the prospective customers' decision making, right? So you got to ask your customers as they fill out a form or in sales conversation, how did you hear about us, right? On your forms, you want to get a first party response on how they heard about us, because if they're not providing that, oftentimes you might see, oh, direct traffic is how they converted, or organic traffic is how they converted. But oftentimes you're not going to get any recognition for some of the other content you may have produced that drove them to a decision of contacting you. And don't ignore qualitative feedback. It's often your best signal of influence, right? You are getting feedback from your customers that says, hey, I heard about you, I watched your content, I was attending your webinar, all of those things that might give you insights on how they're discovering your brand and your solutions. And then the fourth thing is, in terms of how do you actually improve ROI or increase the ROI of your thought leadership, is aligning content to your buyer intent. This is something that I think a lot of times people kind of not take into consideration. A lot of times the energy and efforts are focused on just creating content without the real thought of how is this going to help the customer in that customer journey. As I mentioned earlier, customer journey is not a linear path. There's a lot of touch points that are in the middle that they're going through, right? The messy middle is what they call it. So even great content fall flat if it doesn't speak what the buyer really cares about. So you want to talk to the customer, right? At that time of purchase or at the time of their decision-making process or their research process, you want to speak to them at that level in whatever that information is going to ultimately help them make more informed decisions. So what you want to do is talk to your sales team. You want to be having conversation with the sales team to ask, what are some of the questions that are being kept asked, right? Like, what are some of the questions that are coming up in sales conversations? You want to also talk to your support team to find out what sort of tickets are coming in with the problems or challenges that they're describing in those tickets. And then basically also look at the trending questions from tools that might allow you to get access to the topics that people are asking, right? All of this gives you real world questions that people are asking, real world problems. And then you want to create content that speaks to those customer journey along the way. And then that actually helps you kind of shift your audience's perception of your brand and also drive them to a decision of choosing you. That's what ultimately drives relevance. That's what ultimately drives engagement and ultimately helping you build trust in the eyes of those customers. And then the fifth thing is enabling your sales team to use it. Oftentimes we see there's such disconnect between what marketing is doing and what the sales are doing, right? Salespeople are ultimately little marketers in their own right. And you want to empower the salespeople to leverage the marketing content, the thought leadership content the team is developing, your marketing team is developing. So if you can empower your sales team to be using that in their sales enablement purposes, it can get a lot more mileage and ultimately increases the likelihood of your content producing more positive ROI for the organization. So if you're creating blogs, empower your sales team to leverage that in multiple formats. They can use that in their outbound strategies, right? Like if they can use that in their sequences or if they can use that in their own social content sharing. So seeding all that into their own outreach, or if you're creating case studies or if they're getting testimonial videos or anything like that, empowering your sales team to be able to leverage that in the right time in the sales process could help get the most value out of those thought leadership content, right? Oftentimes, if you're creating interviews with your customers as a podcast series or something like that, then the salespeople can use that in their outreaches, in the sales conversation, in the discovery meetings to say, hey, here's a prospective customer, their experience of working with us and how we help them solve their business challenge. And here's their story of how that's impacted their business. That's an amazing thought leadership piece that can be leveraged in that entire sales process to ultimately increase the likelihood of them choosing your product or service as opposed to some competing alternative. So sharing customer stories and outcomes or objections, all of that could be done with marketing, creating such content, and then obviously having the salespeople using it, right? And you can make it super easy for them to use it. If you are using platforms like HubSpot or anything like that, you can make these content assets easily available to them. And ultimately that actually amplifies the reach of these content assets. And then the sixth thing you want to do in terms of how you improve the ROI of thought leadership, right, is reviewing results quarterly, right? Thought leadership isn't something you just look at overnight and say, oh, we published a blog, we got this many leads. You certainly want to be looking at it more on a 90-day window. Set some sort of a 90-day rhythm. Every quarter you ask, what content drove the most leads, right? You want to know if you're producing certain type of blogs, is it driving the most amount of visits? Or if it's a certain type of webinar that has driven the most visits and conversions, and then how that's actually turned into sales conversations and deals and obviously ultimately revenue. And you want to be able to measure that. And what are we getting? Brand mention is another metric you can use to see if quarterly, if as we continue to publish more content, are we getting more brand mentions that are increasing our market share or market visibility, right? right? And ultimately, how is this boosting our visibility in platforms across the web, not just in Google anymore, in any AI platforms that are also referencing our content in AI answers or AI responses. So use all those data and then look at the ones that are actually producing the most positive ROI and then double down on it, refine it and repeat it, and then continue to innovate and iterate upon that as well. And then the last thing, right, the seventh thing that I would mention from an ROI standpoint, tell the right story to your stakeholders, to your leadership. Because data is good, and oftentimes you have to paint the right picture for your internal leadership on how that's actually impacting the business, right? The story you tell, it has to make sense to them, because oftentimes if you just say, hey, we posted this video, we got 5,000 views, that may not actually be very, very encouraging to them, because that's just vanity metric. But if you can tell them like, hey, we posted this blog, it gave us 5 leads from these ideal customers or ideal accounts. If you can tie that back to business outcomes, that actually is helpful for your leadership team to make most sense out of it. Or you can say, hey, we published this video and our pipeline has, the deal velocity has improved, our brand awareness has increased, our sales cycle has declined, reduced drastically, right? And our win rate has improved. If you can prove those sort of ROI, that ultimately helps your case in terms of why you should continue to invest in thought leadership. So again, keep in mind, thought leadership is not an overnight success. It ultimately helps you build trust in the eyes of your customers, and you want to differentiate yourself in the market by positioning yourself as the subject matter expert that your prospective customers come to. And to do that, you have to be very intentional, and you have to have more of a long-term vision and think of what part of that growth journey that you're solving for, right? What part of that growth initiative you're solving for with the content that you're creating, and then what sort of key metrics are going to make most sense, right? You want to know, are we measuring visibility, engagement, or business impact? What are those key metrics that we're measuring? At the end of the day, you as a business have to invest into this for the long haul, and it's not an overnight success, because in the B2B world, buyers don't want to be more no's. They want trusted advisors. That is exactly what they're looking for. And if you are the thought leader, you are the subject matter expert in the space, you're more likely to win in that game than some of your competitors. Hopefully you found this content useful. If so, please share with some of your other team members or to your audience. And then also please comment, how are you measuring the effectiveness of your thought leadership in your business? And what are some areas where you think you might be able to make some alteration or modification to get the most value out of your thought leadership effort? Please like and share and subscribe to our channel.
If you enjoyed this video, please share it. To make sure you never miss an episode, please subscribe.